They're both hiding. Welcome to the BCM Podcast. Charles Blain in the top left.
Howdy.
Brad Swail is on the toilet and will be joining us shortly. I'm Michael Searle. How's Charles doing?
I was not on the toilet. I'm texting Trump back. For those listening, I got a text message. Trump was impressed with my census and he wanted my feedback. So I was just texting with him, giving him my feedback. I asked him why he was looking at my census specifically, and he didn't really have a satisfying answer. It was kind of weird, to be honest. But hey, I did a good job on it. What can I say?
Well, good thing you filled it out. I'm glad. So someone came knocking on your door and you're like, hey, let me give them all my private
actually this year I got somehow selected. I had to do something like extra. I can't remember what it was, but I don't know. I had to like sign up 10 other people.
Sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. No, I had to do extra information for some reason, and it was illegal if I didn't do it. And I was like, I don't fucking fuck you guys. Go on. I'm sorry, Charles. Michael asked you a question. I think he said, "How are you?"
I'm doing well. I'm here in Houston, the Bayou City, Space City, H-Town. We have technically we have a new mayor-elect, not necessarily a new mayor, but we got a new mayor coming in. It's a new day in Houston, and I'm doing good.
I hear people are going to talk about this. So we're going to do something a little bit different today, right, boys? Oh, right. I should first address the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm wearing a MAGA hat. Well, we are going to talk about Miss Daddy Trump today. And
Miss Daddy Trump?
Got a lot going on there. Just throw it all in.
And he gave me this hat, so I figured it was appropriate. I personally have not decided who I'm voting for, but he's in the running. So today we're going to talk about a lot of things. I will go down the list quickly. So the House votes to begin impeachment proceedings on Biden. We got Trump winning in swing state polls and MSNBC reporting it. We have the House of Representatives, the three mics, which we'll get into, gutting the UFO Transparency Act and the NDAA. We should do something to get those guys out. And then on the state level, we're talking about Katie Cox and that controversy. Elon Musk opens a new university in Austin.
Musk U.
And the filing period ends in Texas. So we got this field is set for the Republican primaries. We're going to talk about that. And then on the local level, Houston elects a new mayor. We have a great column in City Journal written by C. Blain over there. The Austin Office of Sustainability selects 33 youth leaders for its Austin Youth Climate Equity Council.
It's the Watermelon Guard.
And then lastly, Brad Swail's favorite topic, we'll be talking about the district attorney, Jose.
Why is that my favorite topic? I like proving Charles wrong on housing.
Well, that doesn't ever happen, so I don't know how you like it.
What?
So I would say let's just jump in.
Okay.
And so
where are we jumping in?
If you guys didn't notice, just a couple days ago, the House of Representatives voted to officially begin impeachment proceedings against the big guy, Joe Biden.
For Big Daddy. Well, Hunter came out and he held a press conference saying that his dad was never involved in any of his businesses. And Hunter's he's a pretty honest guy, right? Like we have a lot of information on his life. I've seen pictures of his penis, right? And I've seen pictures of him pulling hookers' hair. I've seen him do drugs. I've seen his personal finances. Right, he lives life out in the open. He is doing crazy, crazy things, and he's taking pictures of it all. I'm sure there's video as well. What does he have to hide?
All of the information about Hunter Biden came like unwillingly. Like I did not want any of that information that we have about him, but like it's just been forced upon us for the past 4 years.
I think he likes forcing that upon people. Yeah. So it's just an inquiry. I don't trust him. What are they going to do? How inept have the Republicans been against like fighting back against, progressives or Democrats or whatever, this red versus blue dichotomy that we're in? How good have they been? I would say probably not very good. So what are you guys hopeful? Are you hopeful that maybe I should start with asking, like, do you think this is a good idea?
Well, okay. That's where I was going to go. Am I hopeful? I don't really care. Like, Biden clearly was involved. He's changed the story so many times. It's clear that he's implicated. And it was like, oh, I never talked to him about it. Oh, wait, I talked to him, but we never talked about business. It's just like he keeps changing his story. It's clear corruption. It's probably impeachable. They won't pass it in the Senate, so it doesn't really matter. It's just really kind of a charade. And then I raised the question, even if you could get to 60 votes in the Senate to get rid of him, is it even smart? Don't you want to be running against Biden?
Right.
I think it'd probably be better if you were running against Kamala.
I mean,
right? She all right. So you impeach him. Does that mean he's automatically out? And if he does go out, you say, all right, you're out of here, bud. Go back to China. Then we have Kamala, and that's awful, I think. And then what did she do? She gonna run? She gonna run for president? She lost. She was like the first one to drop out. She didn't get like more than 1% in anything, and yet she still somehow became vice president. I wonder why, Michael.
Yeah, why, guys?
What do you mean?
Systemic racism.
I think both of them are equally unpopular. I think running against either one of them would probably. Interestingly enough, they have not even tried to poll. Unless I haven't seen it, Kamala against like Trump or Kamala against Nikki, which you would think, given like the situation we're in with the impeachment, with his age, with all these other things, that they would just throw that out there to see kind of like where the country's at. I guess my question: Do I have faith? No. I mean, they found cocaine in the White House, one of the most secure buildings in the country, and they couldn't figure out who did it. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. So no, I have no faith. And second, I don't know. So here's the thing: as a father, Brad, you're a father, Michael, you're a father. Would you guys go to these great lengths for your child? Like, I struggle sometimes in thinking about this because I feel like it's kind of hard to blame him because he's going, like, I know what my dad does for my brothers and for me over the years, like nothing to this extent for sure. But what lengths does a father go for their child? Well,
I mean, you go to the ends of the earth within certain bounds. It's not anything goes. I'm not going to, if he's trying to get into Harvard or something like that, and it's between him and some Asian kid, I'm not going to go murder the Asian kid.
I mean, would you go and rip up their SAT so that like they didn't get qualified? Like, would you do that?
I might put him in an internment camp. Because the Chinese, that happened to I'm not, it's a joke. It's a joke. All right.
All right. So we don't.
This loving father bit, I'm calling bullshit.
I'm playing devil's advocate here, by the way. I'm not. Yeah.
A loving father does not let their crack addicted son run around the world with millions of dollars selling influence. That's not what a loving father does. A loving father would put him into somewhere that he can get help. You don't let him run wild on your name if you're a loving father.
Well, we know Michael won't let his kids have fun.
I don't even help them tie their shoes. Like, you know how to do that. Do it yourself.
But here's the thing. I saw a clip last night, and the only reason I saw it was because I first saw commentary about it on Twitter. Meghan McCain was going off on Twitter because apparently yesterday on The View, the ladies were saying that, he's just doing things for his son, and what child out of DC hasn't traded on their last name? People at this table have done so before. And so Meghan McCain had heard it and then realized she was talking about her, and then she started going off on Twitter. And so it was interesting hearing them try to, I went back and looked at the clip, hearing them try to justify it, saying that like, did he do some bad things? Yes, but it's okay because all DC kids trade on their parents' last name, which is just like kind of nuts to me that they would try to justify that.
So corruption is endemic in the system, and therefore it's okay for Hunter Biden to do it.
Yeah.
Did you say it's systemic corruption?
Endemic.
But yes. What did you say?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's probably pretty natural for people to play on their last names if they have one that works for them. I think most people would do that. I'm sure there's some they'll say, no, I'm going to make it on my own. Good for you. I think that's great. But at the end of the day, I think this is sort of like, okay, yeah, this is what Hunter did. Biden got involved, and so he needs to be punished and punished accordingly. But to think that it stops at Biden is an insane premise. I think that whoever said that is absolutely correct. Of course, no one cares what the fuck Meghan McCain thinks. Like nobody.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I feel like
popular because of her dad.
Yes, but yes, exactly. So right, that's why she got the position on The View. So for her to have this like outrage that they would call her out on it, like the only reason we really know who she is because of her dad. Same thing with like Abby Huntsman. Same thing with Huckabee Sanders. Like a lot. I mean, most of these people.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders got where she is because of her looks.
But there's a kind of a clear line here. There's kind of a clear line here that we're not delineating. Using your father's name to become a TV show host versus using your father's position of power to get prosecutors fired that are investigating your company. Like one's criminal, one's not. Right. Is it shady? Probably. Is it taking advantage? Yeah. But is it criminal? What Meghan McCain did? No. Although it should be. But what Biden did is clearly criminal. And there's a long history of this behavior from the Bidens. So, but my bigger question, and this kind of takes us to the next, is like, why would we get rid of Joe Biden when Trump's, even MSNBC is, on TV, Joe and Mika talking about Trump's winning in all the swing states.
You mean those two murderers?
Who did they kill?
And who they murder?
Joe Scarborough.
Right.
The conspiracy, Charles, goes that Joe Scarborough murdered his chief of staff or something like that when he was in Congress.
What? Yeah. I didn't know that. Wow. Huh. Well, then wouldn't that just be one murderer?
Huh?
Wouldn't that just be one murderer then?
Well, Mika's complicit if she hasn't outed him yet. At this point.
Speaking of somebody who traded on their family name to get where she is.
Mika? What was her family name?
Isn't she Brzezinski's daughter?
Oh, I don't know. Is she?
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a popular name in Poland. I don't know. Like Smith.
Yeah, that's her daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even Joe and Mika are reporting that Joe Biden is winning in that Trump is winning in swing states. And that's Make America Great Again. Look at your hat. If you're not watching the video, you should be. So they're reporting. I mean, at this point, there's got to there. I think that there's in the background effort, right, to the impeachment stuff, and we're starting to see more evidence of criminal activity. I think the Dems are probably like kind of happy about it, right? I don't think they want Biden.
I mean, what are their options? I mean, Kamala's not. I think they're both equally as unpopular. I mean, the only thing is that Kamala has the edge on Joe just because she's simply like coherent and she's.
I thought you were going to say because she's black, but the Gavin Newsom has been out there. I mean, he did a debate with. Why does Gavin Newsom do a debate with a Republican candidate for president if he's not trying to run for president?
Because neither one of them are going to be president this time around, and they're both trying to get their name ID up for next time around.
Oh, Ron DeSantis is never going to be president.
I don't disagree with that either. But
So about 2 years ago, I had lunch with our next week's guest, Mr. Adam Lowy, and we made a bet. And I said,
2 years ago, you said?
Yeah, probably. It was a while ago. Maybe it was 18 months ago. I don't know.
What'd you guys have for lunch? It's okay.
I don't remember. I think I ate a salmon burger.
Oh,
that sounds right. But I bet him $100 to our charity of choice that Joe Biden would not be the nominee for the Democrats come November 2024.
You might be losing that one.
We're
getting close.
I think that yes, they're seeing the polls. They want to get rid. I think they want to get rid of him. Their big complication is Kamala. I've heard it said both ways.
It's Kamala, yes.
Kamala. Mm-hmm. And they don't know what to do with her. They probably should have given her the Supreme Court spot. But and that Michelle Obama and and that Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom are the two that are.
I don't understand this idea that Michelle Obama is like the candidate.
Because she's wildly popular. Like, not even just among Democrats. Like, I think she's just like a very likable person.
There's number one, no, she's not. Number two, she's not. I mean, I get it, right? When you say that she's likable, it sounds like what you're saying is that you also like her, and like on a personal level. And I'm saying like I don't, but like across the country, I'm sure they've done polls or whatever, and people generally like who she is. And I don't think that's universal. I think that I think most Republicans see right through that facade of false femininity and know that she's a guy, and they're not. And even aside, jokes aside, I don't think that they would ever. They're never going to go back to an Obama.
I don't think Republicans and the general public have the same visceral reaction to Michelle Obama that they do to Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom. Like, I don't. She just did this book tour around the country with like all these different moderators and stuff. Every single stop she went to was sold out. Like the average person, not talking about hardcore Republicans and hardcore Democrats, just the average run of the mill person. They don't dislike her, whereas they might find a reason to dislike Joe and dislike Kamala.
Well, I mean, that's like saying then that like The Rock, right? Then he's
also mulling a run. Apparently, he was at West Point last week meeting.
The Rock is never going to run.
I don't disagree that I don't disagree that he's probably not going to run, but it's kind of like the same thing with Oprah. Whereas Oprah's like dipped her toe in the water before because she knows she's wildly popular. Is she going to pull the trigger? Probably not, but she's dipped her toe in the water.
Am I being naive and thinking like, we've had this debate in my household before. If Taylor Swift ran for president, would she win?
Yes.
My wife immediately said,
Kim Kardashian would win too.
Okay, look, Kim Kardashian actually has like some political experience. Taylor Swift has zero. And once Taylor Swift starts, talking, then I think people might realize like, hey, I love your music, but, can you go back to making the NFL popular again? It's not. I don't think that these people, and Michelle Obama is going to be a different case as well, because she actually has she was first lady, first gentleman, I don't know. And she has, so there's that experience. But I think once, is she coached? Can she get up on a debate stage and debate? Can she do these things? Can she, say the right things to the right people? Yeah, there'd be a lot of money behind her, but I don't think that I don't know.
It was in your analysis. You said, I don't see Republicans liking her. She doesn't need Republicans. She needs normie independents who don't vote in primaries, who live in suburbs, and she would crush with that demographic. Crush. She would win all of the swing states, all of them.
And why doesn't she run?
Because she doesn't want to.
She said it a number of times. Like, I don't want to.
Oh my God. Who believes that shit?
Okay, so do you think Oprah could run and win, Brad?
No.
How do you not think Oprah could win?
Okay, look, could. Sure, she could.
If she ran.
I don't think that that's I think it's plausible. I don't think it's probable. Right? I think she would be extremely popular up front. And again, I mean, Oprah's been in the zeitgeist a long time, and she kind of understands cultural issues, but have I ever seen Oprah on a campaign trail, like campaigning for herself? Can she get up there and like actually, formulate good ideas? What's in her closet? Probably some pretty fucked up stuff.
Maybe, but the woman's done like 7,000 shows. She can definitely talk. She can definitely talk her way around anybody out there if she needed to. What's in her closet? Who knows? Probably something. I don't know. She's never been at that point where she had to have that kind of battle where people drag that out. But in terms of being able to get up there and be a good orator who can engage people, yeah. And listen, we got to go back to Ronald Reagan. Before he ran, he was not a politician either. Trump wasn't a politician either. What's that guy's name? What was that? The Hispanic actor who became governor?
John Leguizamo.
Is that him? I don't know. He ran for something like maybe New Mexico or something. I can't remember. Or maybe he was sheriff. I don't remember what it was. But it's not unlike us to elect celebrities.
Sure, I know it's happened. I'm aware that Trump was a celebrity before this, but he also ran for president before winning president. Like 2016 was not his first go.
Wait, it wasn't? How did I miss that?
Didn't he run like he was a candidate? Like he was a candidate. I'm pretty. Maybe this is like a Berenstein Bears situation where
I don't think he ran for president.
I don't think that was the first time that he did it. Am I making something up?
He probably did what Oprah did and through his put his toe in the water, but I don't recall him ever running for president.
I'm gonna look it up right now. You guys talk.
Yeah. So you also have to understand that the trajectory of our politics is it's getting dumber and dumber, and so
there
the
have
idea
been
of a celebrity
4 presidential campaigns waged by Donald Trump for president of the United States, and
What? I didn't know that.
Go on, Michael. I'm sorry. I'm going to look it up.
Oh, that's all right. It's getting dumber and dumber. So the idea that a celebrity with no policy experience could run for president and win is not that far-fetched to me, and especially ones with that, like an Oprah or Michelle Obama. Yeah, I could see that happening and winning. And then, well, no, I don't know that I could see it happening, but if they ran, they'd win.
Right.
Joe Biden won in 2020, and Republicans say hiding in the basement, but what they're trying to say is he didn't actually run a campaign and he can't articulate a freaking sentence, and he won. So why wouldn't an articulate, smart Black woman who can actually talk be able to win too? In those two cases, or white women,
I think. So Donald Trump ran in 2000, which is the one that I remember. So why? Look, if she can win Michelle Obama, I think there's maybe 2 reasons why she's not going to run. It's not because she doesn't want it. That's bullshit. Of course she wants it.
I mean, but I think it's easy to say, of course she wants it, but who wants to be in a cage for 8 years after having been in a cage for 8 years?
That's the nicest cage anybody's ever going to be in.
It is the nicest cage anyone's ever going to be in, but I don't know that. I don't know. I could, after having been there for 8 years and not being able to drive a car yourself and not being able to let the window down, I don't know. I'd probably think twice about it too.
No, you wouldn't.
You know how they could win? You know how they could win? You know how they could win?
Yeah, please. I'll finish my point. You go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to transition. If one of them would champion UFO disclosure, Jesus.
Okay. Before we get into UFOs and Michael has to hide his arousal, there's only 2. I think there's 2 reasons I can think of that she would not run.
Yeah, one of them is nonsensical. Don't even say it. I feel like I know what you're gonna say.
No, I joke a lot on this podcast. If people are not aware of that, I joke a lot, and that's fine. But I'm not. This is not a joke.
Oh, okay.
Michael Obama. I don't think she wants to do. One reason could be, and I think this is another one of those conspiracies, right? And I think that it's maybe there's, I don't know. Michael may know more details about it, but the Obamas are said to be sort of running the show right now, anyway. Right? There's a lot of Obama holdovers, and they're sort of pulling the strings behind. They're pulling the strings behind the scenes already. So, well, why go through that effort? You already got the power. You're already doing it. The other one is that the media or the DNC or whoever the powers that may be, those that pushed Joe Biden over the edge, right? Can't speak, never showed up for anything, constantly in his basement, all of the regular things that we always, saw and said. He won because the media was on his side and DNC was on his side, and he had the propaganda arm of the machine on his side. So my other thought is that maybe the propaganda arm doesn't want Michelle Obama for whatever reason, right? If she could win, I think that she would do it.
What would be the upside to her for her doing it? Why?
You're the president. You're the first woman president of the United States. You're the first Black woman president of the United States, and you're the president of the United States. Maybe she's afraid Hillary Clinton will murder her for beating her to the punch.
I mean, I hear you. I don't know. I think it's probably appealing to some. I don't think unless you were, bit by the political bug to be the one to run, I can see why that would be a turnoff to run for president, especially when you've seen it from the sideline. Well, not even from the sidelines, from the front row of what that's like running and then serving and then all the stuff that goes into it. And then the fact that like they've got 2 young daughters who still get followed around everywhere and get pictures. Like I feel like there's so much else that goes into it that now that they have their freedom after 8 years, I would probably be like, I'm not going to do anything unless I felt that one, if I was Democrat or Republican, that I felt it was going to like save the party or the country and like I was the only one that could do it, or 2, there was something I was just absolutely dying to accomplish, and the only way to accomplish that was by running for president. Then I would do it. But if I didn't have those 2 things, I'd be like, there's no reason.
I'll say I don't think her life is dramatically different than what it was like in the ways that you're talking about than it was when she was first lady, right?
Today, you don't think so?
Well, I mean, she has more freedom, sure, but she's also there's Secret Service protection for her and Obama and the children. You know, they probably still drive around in armored cars. They probably are still advised not to roll down their windows. They're probably still like followed and harassed, and you know, then also like both good and bad ways, right? By their legions of fans and haters. You know, she's going around the country doing this book signing tour, like engaging with people politically, right? She's pushing the Democrat message with everything that she does. Mm-hmm. She's not like just a regular citizen now. Like, I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm gonna write a young adult vampire fanfic. You know, it's not. She's being political. But I take your point as well. Maybe she just doesn't want to.
Yeah, I don't think you can diminish the amount of demand on some person's time when they're president or first lady of the United States. I think she's probably pretty free, just traveling the world and doing whatever she wants to do. That's got to be kind of nice. But
and no one's counting their money. No one's counting, like, right? They can go on vacation now. And no one's like, how much are we paying for that? You know, some people are, but like generally,
they're getting a lot of that Netflix money to make movies about how bad white people are.
So that their recent movie, I hear it's really terrible and that it's like indoctrination. I have not watched it. Did you guys watch it?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely indoctrination. What's it called? Go Back Home or something like that?
Something like that.
What's it called?
Leave the World Behind.
Leave the World Behind. That was kind of close. Go Back Home. I've watched maybe 2/3 of it, and I enjoy movies, good or bad. The only movie that I can think of in recent memory that I did not like was the all-female reboot of Ghostbusters. It wasn't because it's all female. I like plenty of all-female casts. I like all movies. It's just that one for some reason was just I fell asleep. So I
we bet you like all female cast.
Keep going.
At any rate, there is definitely some, you know, and it's pretty like, you know, white people are, you know, hate black people and they're fucking evil and, you know, they don't care about black people or immigrants or Latinas.
That's what this movie's about. Jeez.
It's not what it's a.
No, but I mean, those are the undertones.
Oh my God. Like right away.
Oh. Wow.
It's insane.
Well.
So I don't know.
See, why run for president when you can make movies like that?
Right. And you know, maybe we should put this show on Netflix to, you know, counter that narrative. You know, we have 2 white guys and a black guy. And while one white guy argues a lot with a black guy, it's not because of any sort of animosity. It's out of love.
I'm not convinced. But are there UFOs in this movie?
There's got to be.
No.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, I was hoping that would segue us into the UFO context.
Let's talk about UFOs.
I'm happy to segue us there. Okay, so last week there was a bunch of negotiations about the Defense Department's budget, the National Defense Authorization Act. Chuck Schumer and Mike Rounds in the Senate added an amendment that it was called the UFO Transparency Act. Last week, negotiations in the House, the 3 Mikes, Mike Johnson, the new speaker, who's a fucking disappointment, excuse my French. Mike Rounds,
the chairman of the show. Come on.
The chairman of House Intelligence, and Mike Turner, the chairman of, what is he chair? He's Intelligence chair, and Mike Rogers is Armed Services chair. They shut the whole thing down. Those 3 guys. interestingly, just go look at their campaign finance reports about where they get their money from. But they pulled out kind of all the big things: the Presidential Review Board, which would get all the classified documents and look at them and be like, "Oh, we should disclose this," kind of thing. The requirement that private companies turn over any craft they have to the government, that was taken out. And third, the eminent domain. So if they have craft, the government through this act was going to be able to take them from private companies, and that was pulled out as well.
Well,
So
I'm surprised
the
you're
question
disappointed.
is,
yeah, I'm surprised you're
question
disappointed
is-
by that one too, Michael.
no, I want the UFOs. I will abandon all principles to get the UFO information. So the question is, if there's nothing to hide, why all the effort, folks?
Well, I think the obvious answer, Michael, is that the aliens are running the show and they don't want to be known yet. So,
I mean, I do kind of. I could see how that eminent domain could, like, you give them an inch, they take a mile. Like, where could that go next?
are they going to come after my UFO? Nuh-uh.
I mean, what if a private citizen, right, does find something or find? I mean, it could be anything, like even like a meteor or something. Then the government's like, "That's mine now," which they probably already do. I don't know. I know they do that with like pirate bounty if you find it offshore.
It's pronounced booty.
But yeah, why pull it out if there's nothing to hide? I don't know that we've had this discussion on the podcast, but the three of us believe that UFOs, aliens exist, extraterrestrial beings. What do you think the reason is that the government refuses to acknowledge that? And maybe we've had this conversation on here. I don't know, but I don't think we have.
So it's simple. Why do they hide the
It's
JFK
simple.
assassination truth? Yeah. Why do they hide the JFK assassination truth?
Because they did it. You can't have that.
Complicit.
I mean, complicit implies that they just knew about it, or like maybe like they fucking did it, right? They're not going to tell the American citizenry that, hey, we fucking killed JFK. Deal with it, bitches. Like that's not. Of course, they're going to hide that.
So I would say whatever they're hiding about UFOs has the same level of criminal activity that they don't want exposed.
Wait, but what?
They killed people to hide this information.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I thought you meant. See, you think that's the reason? Okay. Back up then. Why did they kill people to hide it? Like, what is the underlying reason for not disclosing that they exist?
I don't know. It could be a number of things, and we have talked about this a little bit. I mean, here's the point that Tucker made in his little UFO segment. He's like, if the argument is they aren't going to tell us because they don't want to scare us, that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. The government is in the business of scaring us. That's what they do. They feed off of that. That's their fuel. So that's not it. So what are they hiding? I don't know. Maybe originally it was like, we want this technology and we don't want anybody else to have it. Maybe that's what started the secrecy. But over time, they've done some stuff to keep it secret that they don't want the public to know, because like the JFK assassination, we would be pretty pissed. And now they forced themselves there to keep it secret.
Well, I feel that the reason is that you watch all these documentaries and read all this stuff about the way these crafts move and them, going from place to place and all this. Whatever they've discovered is probably like some sort of like energy generating source, which would probably put the fossil fuel industry out of business, or whatever technology they've discovered to make them invisible, to make them, deny gravitational forces, all this other stuff is probably so powerful that they would not want that out because Lockheed or Raytheon would go out of business or something like that. I'm probably going to get killed for just saying that. And so that's what I would assume. I don't know.
That's the case Tim Burchett makes, actually. He's kind of the lead Republican in the House that's like pushing for transparency. He says that he calls them the war pigs at the Pentagon. He said it would make the DOD obsolete. We wouldn't have to fight these wars in the Middle East over oil. And it's about the technology and making oil, gas, and other energy obsolete. That's his guess.
I'm going to donate $10 to him.
You should. He's right now one of my two favorite congressmen.
Does that include senators or just Congress?
Just Congress.
Okay.
What?
I was gonna say, what do you think, Brad?
What's his name? One of your
Tim
two favorites?
Tim Burchett.
Who's your favorite? AOC. Fuck yeah.
Right now it's Matt Gaetz, but I love Thomas Massey too.
Mine's Massey and Lee, Mike Lee. I know he's not a congressman, but technically.
I mean, I'm a normal human being and despise all Congress people. So
I mean, same, but
why don't they do it? Well, I mean, I think all of those are good answers, right? If the technology is there if it's disrupting technology where, there's free energy, like what Tesla described or whatever. And then the people would be like, yeah, fucking, you hid this from us for how long, you assholes?
Yeah.
And we're paying for this. And like, I look at my energy bill from Austin Energy and like, I'd be pretty pissed too. But and then there's I said this when we talked about it last, like it would really disrupt people's idea of where we came from and who we are. And that wouldn't bother me, but it might bother the Pope.
He already knows about all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
Him and his red shoes. Am I right, Michael?
Just say yes and move to the next topic. Whatever.
Okay. Yeah. The next topic is more.
Wait, no. Are we done with this one though?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unless you got more to say on it.
No, I mean, I just think it's shady that they would pull those out of the final bill. I mean, it's it's not unlike Congress, but it is frustrating, and I wish people would be more like demanding that we get more information about this. Like, I feel like we're in this era where we're getting all this new stuff about UFOs and people just don't care, probably because we're going through like traumatic events every other week. But I just it's so weird that no one cares. So I wish people would care.
Yeah.
Your traumatic event this week was that Sheila Jackson Lee lost?
Yes. By a wide margin.
Well, we will certainly keep the listeners updated on what's happening with the UFO world, because I follow it and Charles follows it and Brad follows it. So we'll keep you updated. This is not the end of the fight. So next story, who wants to intro this one? Because I don't. Katie Cox.
Kate Cox? I think it's Kate Cox.
Kate Cox.
I mean, so
hey, before we start on this, do y'all want me to just like step away for a little bit, or?
No. So I mean, I could. So Kate Cox, 31, lives in Dallas with her husband and 2 young kids. About 20 weeks into her third pregnancy, she learned her fetus had, might mispronounce this, trisomy 18, a genetic condition with slim to no chance of survival. She also suffered cramping and other symptoms, severe enough to send her to the emergency room multiple times in a 2-week period. She believed that she was a good candidate for the narrow exception in the Texas abortion ban, that would allow her to get an abortion. And so they argued her future fertility was at risk, that her life was at risk. And I believe it was the Center for Reproductive Rights took on her case and filed an emergency petition on her behalf requesting an abortion ban penalty be suspended. A judge agreed. The Attorney General appealed, I guess it is, and then it went to the Texas Supreme Court, who, and I want to make sure I get this part right. I believe they, where are we at? Texas Attorney General immediately appealed to Supreme Court. He also sent a warning letter to the 3 hospitals where she might have the procedure. The Supreme Court put a temporary hold on the ruling pending review. She decided to leave the state and get an abortion. And then since then, I believe has refused to do interviews or disclose where she currently is. And so there's a lot of commentary surrounding it. And quite frankly, as I was just reading that, I got a text message from Lena Hidalgo, our Harris County judge, saying it's a fundraising text message, of course. And I'm reeling from Kate Cox's, and I swear I literally just got this. I'm reeling from Kate Cox's dystopian ordeal team. She fled our state this week to receive reproductive care recommended by her doctor, but refused by the Texas Supreme Court all the same. It's horrifying to have a medical emergency during pregnancy, but to be forced to prolong the emergency while the government debates it is man-made suffering. Oh, debates it is man-made suffering. These issues should be left to women and their physicians, not politicians. And then she goes on to ask for money. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, my understanding is that the Supreme Court ruling came back and said, like, you don't need a doctor. If the doctor has a reasonable medical opinion that this is going to be at risk for Katie Cox and all this other stuff, then she doesn't need the stay of order. Is that wrong? Or she doesn't need she doesn't need to come to the court
if her life is at risk.
Well, in her situation, I'm trying to find the exact words on it, but I was going to bring this up in a little bit, but what Twitter is insane. You just search like whatever's going on. Like you look at the what's happening, the trending tab, and you click on it, and there's people just posting hardcore porn with just that word on it. Oh. And so I'm having to scroll through that as I look for Katie Cox, and it's really distracting. I apologize.
Was that an all-woman cast too?
No, this one is actually a white woman and a black man.
So yes, the law says that for her life, if her life is at risk, it provides a narrow exception for her life being at risk, or when a pregnancy poses a serious risk of substantial impairment of a major bodily function. Her lawyers were arguing that her future fertility is a major bodily function. And so there was a disagreement over that. And I think that was what the holdup was. Her life wasn't at immediate risk, but her future fertility was. And I guess the law is unclear on whether that specific issue counts as a major bodily function, which I would guess fertility is a major,
I will say that this has got to change, right? Whatever's going on with Texas and abortion, there's got to be middle ground. And I think I said this maybe on our, a very early episode. There's been so many that, the heartbeat bill. I don't know if it's a perfect middle ground, but it was middle ground, right? And it seemed like Republicans were okay with it. The base was okay with it. It seems like conservatives were basically okay with it. All right, the heartbeat bill, fine. That's 6 weeks. You got 6 weeks to do it. Go do it. And that was actually meeting in the middle, a negotiation in a way. But the way it is now, where Ken Paxton, is, do I want Ken Paxton as governor? I don't know. But this is going to be such a difficult, it's just riling up Democrats and women in general to vote all conservatives out. Right. So the political strategy behind this is insane, but also I kind of feel for this lady. I don't want her to lose her fertility. Right. I'm the father of a special needs child with an ultra rare chromosome disorder. It's not trisomy 18, but I also can see the other side. Hey, his life is valuable, and there's life. Life is life, and you don't want to get rid of. You don't want to abort somebody just because they have Down syndrome or just because they have a rare genetic disorder. In this case, trisomy 18, the kid they survive a day or a year. I don't know, but this is a bad situation for everybody, and it's especially bad for her. Let me be very clear about that.
Yeah, my takeaways reading it. I agree with everything Brad just said. This is a mother of two. She's obviously not taking this decision lightly. And on the political front, do conservatives want to keep losing forever? This is stupid. Who in a bad situation like this one, who is the appropriate person to make the decision? Is it a government law that's been set, or is it the woman who's probably taking this very seriously and making the decision that she thinks is best for her and her family? Man, three guys talking about abortion, but I just don't understand the purpose of this. And then in the broader, the meta discussion, if the goal is to have less abortions, I don't think this is the way to go about it. It's not working. It's making it worse, probably.
Well, and a couple things. They, I believe it was Texas Right to Life. I can't find it on their Twitter now, so it might not have been Texas Right to Life. But they were posting posts of a few kids who had conditions that were incompatible with life who did survive. And so one of them was a woman who had trisomy 18, and I believe she was 34 or something. I mean, she did not have a great quality of life, but she was alive. And I think the point that they were trying to make was that, doctors say that the likelihood of them surviving is low, incredibly low, but it doesn't mean that it's definitive. They have another one where they just posted with another girl who they didn't say what condition she had, but they said she wouldn't make it past 10 days old, and she's now what looks to be 13 or 14 or something. Another thing is that I've recently saw this posted yesterday and actually all week, that since 2020, Texas had 50,000 in 2020. Texas had 50,000 abortions so far this year, which, I mean, with 2 weeks to the end of the year, Texas has reported only 34 abortions. And so, obviously a steep decline in the number of people who are either getting or reporting abortions in the state of Texas after this legislation has been passed.
So, I was reading that I think because of the age of how many weeks into the pregnancy she is, the baby would have to be like dismembered and then delivered like piece by piece, which is fucking grotesque and turns my stomach. And I don't. So there's like that's kind of a. So you have trisomy 18. Does that mean that you deserve to be like dismembered and then delivered piece by piece? Like there's that side of the argument too, which I sympathize with, but it's also like this woman, as Michael said, she has 2 kids. She's not some hooker that, the condom broke. She's trying to do what's best for her and her family. Like why fight her on this? Like let her have it and just be done with it, as grotesque as it's going to be. But to something that you said, Michael, 3 guys talking about abortion, that's not the first time you've said that. And I don't understand it. Like I'm a father of 3. If my wife got pregnant, like I'm a guy, I still like I should have my voice should be heard about her abortion if she wants to have one. Right? Like it matters to me. And like, boys get aborted, right? That happens. Like we can talk about it. We can have this conversation. Don't be so shy, Michael.
I agree. I mean, we're having the conversation now. It's just it's hard for so many reasons. And I just think that there's no perfect solution here, not just in this case, but in the abortion issue generally. And it's hard to come to some sort of, I don't know, the consensus is the wrong word, but what's the right thing to do here? And from a political front, I mean, this is just killing conservatives from the political side, which doesn't, in this case, it really doesn't matter, but.
Well, and to Michael's point, I think the difficulty in talking about this conversation as 3 guys is that even if that situation did happen with your wife, we're never going to know what carrying that burden is. I mean, I see a lot of stories of women who go through, who have an abortion and then personally carry that deep burden because that's what they chose to do. And then some who don't. And so, and I get it, but I do still think that it is okay. I mean, we're the products of conception and you guys both have children. And so I think it's acceptable, but I can also understand why some people might say it's not, although I disagree. And on the political side, I struggle to, yes, is it politically damaging? Sure. But I think at some point, does it matter? Like, I feel like, for the folks who just care about life, politics be damned, I think that's what it comes down to. And it's like, does this person have the right to have a chance to live, even if it's not going to be a great quality of life, or even if it's unlikely that they will survive? Do they get that right? And
they have a right to live even if their quality of life is low. If I could ask my son, who again has extremely special needs because of a ultra rare chromosome disorder, like I can tell you unequivocally, he would rather be alive than be dead.
Right. And I'm sure as a father, you would rather that as well.
Yes,
And
of course.
and
That's my responsibility. I chose to have sex with my wife, not like something, he didn't choose to be here. Like, so this is my responsibility. I'm happy to take it on, but it's, just because your quality of life is like his quality of life's always going to be low, especially, it's not, I don't think it's gonna be trisomy 18 low, but it's low compared to mine or his brother and sister. And like, I think, and there's people with special needs kids say this sort of stuff a lot. And, I didn't really take it to heart until I had one. There's a lot to be gained from that. It would be a total nightmare if he was born and it was something else and he died, a couple days later because of it. I get that situation is a little bit different, but just because if you have a chance to live, if your quality of life is low, when I take my son to therapy every week, I got to tell you, there are a number of special needs kids that are in like terrible shape, like way worse shape than him. Like there's a kid that comes, like they have to, like it's a mobile crib almost, and all these gadgets and machines like hooked up, and I don't know what the kid has, HIPAA rules and all that stuff. And it's hard to look, it's hard to see, not hard to look at. It's hard to see. Like I feel for those parents, but I'm sure they value that child's life. And I think that child, I probably wants to live.
And that's what I think. And I struggle because you hear these stories and these people are often there might be stress involved. There might be a financial stress involved. There might be all these other things, but they always seem very happy that they chose to go through with that path of having that child more often than not. I'm sure that there are other stories out there, but more often than not, they do. And I think that from a pro-life perspective, people are concerned that if you start down the path of saying that someone who has trisomy 18 in the womb should be aborted, then you get to a place where it's a condition that isn't as bad, and the parent chooses an abortion simply because they don't want to deal with that extra burden. And I could very well see that being a reality too. And so you're then kind of taking away that opportunity from kids simply because a parent doesn't want to take on additional burden. And so I don't know. It's not an easy subject, but I personally don't. I have to disregard politics in this one because I think even if it means losing some races, like I can see the justification for trying to stand up for that kid.
Yeah.
Should we move on? Yeah. I think we said everything.
No,
we need to
yeah.
What's it?
Right. What's the next topic?
What? Huh?
Should have saved this one for the end.
Let's have just a little bit more silence.
Just stare at the camera.
Let it all sink in.
All right, let's go. All right, come on, let's do this.
Okay, so Elon Musk is opening a new university in Austin, which will start as a primary or secondary school, and then it'll become. Huh?
Is it tits?
Tits?
Yeah. The what?
Texas Institute of Technology and Science. This is something that he tweeted. This is not a joke. I know it sounds like one, but this is something that he tweeted out like in 2001. I remember when he did it, or not 2001, 2021. I remember he did it. He said he's going to start a university He's going to start a university. He's going to call it the Texas Institute for Technology and Science.
Well, maybe because it is STEM focused, so maybe it is.
I was also thinking that I could enroll and I could get a double doctorate. Huh?
So how about that university?
I got a double D at tits.
So yes, it's a new primary and secondary school, and ultimately a university in Austin with $100 million donation from Musk. I'm curious. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about what's going on in Austin in general. With like, I equate this.
You stay in Houston.
Well, it's the best city in the state of Texas, but I equate to in Austin like some of the stuff. It feels like back at the start of Texas. I mean, in the start of Houston, when the Allen brothers came from New York with some money and decided to turn a swamp into a city, or when, the Wildcatters started in Texas looking for oil and kind of started building things. It seems like you've got all these, not just tech billionaires, but just interesting, unique people who are moving largely to places like Austin and starting new institutions, whether it's bringing companies here, whether it's starting a school like this. Musk is building that development that's just outside of Austin. I think it's in Bastrop County or something like that. So it's really interesting, and I'm really excited about it. But yeah, I don't know. Wasn't there supposed to be a new University of Austin, like Austin University?
There's the University of Austin, or University. The University of or University at? It's not. They really should have come up with a better name. But
I think it's of.
Yeah, and they just got accredited, and I think their first classes start in the fall of next year, maybe.
Oh, I thought they shut down.
Why would you say that?
I hadn't heard anything. I remember when it launched, and then there was like some hiccups, and I never heard a thing. So I didn't know that they were like moving forward.
I tried to invite them on my other podcast, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll think about it." And so I just said, "You know what? Maybe I don't want to apply to your school." But that's a little bit different. That's a liberal arts college. Well, I think what Musk is trying to do is a STEM college or STEM school. I don't think it's a college. It starts out as primary and secondary school. There's only 50 spots, and I think what he's doing is there's going to be a lot of tuition assistance. Like it'll basically be free, I think. And you're like, they're not going to consider like people on the board, like they got kids, like those kids got to go through the same process. Hunter, like none of this Hunter Biden stuff.
None of this Hunter Biden stuff. Yeah, I mean, I see what they're doing here. They're making a play at culture and cultivating how do I put this? A population of young people that maybe don't think like the folks that are coming out of traditional colleges here in Austin. My question is, does it matter in 20 years? Has the city gone so far down the path of San Francisco that people are looking at new places, not Austin anymore? And I think they certainly, the University of Austin folks and Elon Musk probably had that consideration. So they're betting that it turns around, but I'm not sure that it will.
I think it could, but I think these people, like, they're moving here, they're bringing businesses, they're starting universities, they're doing all these unique things, but they're not getting involved in politics. I mean, not in a large perspective. And I think ultimately that's what's going to save the kind of environment that has allowed people and things to thrive in Texas. And they need to be more engaged in both local and state politics in order to kind of make sure that these institutions have a place to exist and start to scale back some of this stuff. So I think it could, if they expand their scope and start doing other things. But if they're just going to come put a university where it's 20 people a year, then yeah, I don't think they're doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to engage in the culture fight here in Austin, Texas, because the progressives have won it.
If they won it, I don't think it can be taken back. Not anytime soon. At least it'll be a while.
It can be done. But
yeah, it can
over time.
Yeah.
So next topic, we've got the filing period in Texas has ended. So we have our Republican and Democratic primary fields set. What are you guys looking at?
For what? What do we look at? Well, I mean, we got the DA race in Travis County.
No, we're not there yet. I'm talking state, Paul. I'm talking state. And I can tell you.
My mistake. Jumped ahead.
Here's what's interesting to me is there are 16 races. So I tweeted at Brad Johnson with the Texan, was like, give me the races where Abbott and Paxton are opposite of each other. And there's 16 so far in the Texas House, 12 of which are incumbents who supported impeachment. And the 4 others are not. But this is setting up a pretty interesting dynamic, I think, where they're going to have a fight over who's the most powerful politician in Texas.
And I mean, I think all the adjacent groups lining up it's interesting too, because it's like politics makes for strange bedfellows, and with impeachment, and I think you mentioned this before in another episode, with impeachment and school choice at play, probably like the 2 biggest things on the table. You're getting this kind of weird mix mash of people who are coming together, and so I don't know. I mean, are any of those in the Houston area, like 133, 138, 148? Any of those on there?
133.
See, that's an interesting one, because that is Jim Murphy's old seat, and that's like a very kind of suburban. And they just had, so there's a city council district that pretty much like 99.9% overlaps that House district. And they just had, that was Tony Busby's race against incumbent Marianne Huffman. I guess Tony was a Republican in that race, but two Republicans running against each other. And the question was, how is that going to go? And Tony ended up losing by about 10 points. He made it into a runoff. But the impeachment was a big conversation in that council race. I mean, you had some people who were really turned off by it, and some people who were really motivated by it. But it was definitely a big conversation. School choice, not so much, obviously, because it wasn't a state race. But in that race, now you have Mano de Ayala, who, if I'm not mistaken, supported school choice, but he's going against a school board member from Spring Branch ISD who's also supporting school choice. And who it seems as though a lot of the conservatives, like the conservative SREC members and folks like that, have kind of gotten behind. And then, kind of the matchup that we've been talking about, which is kind of quote unquote conservatives versus traditional Republicans or whatever. So it's going to make for a fun time. A lot of money to be spent.
Oh, yeah.
All around.
And if Paxton can knock off like 4 or 5 of these guys, I mean, I think that's a huge statement. But we'll see. I mean, he's going out, the incumbent list, De Ayala, Patterson, Noble, Burrows, Spiller, Leach, Shaheen, and some of those people, I don't think they'll win. The Paxton supported candidate will win, but
I have a question, Michael. Whoever wins the majority of those races, obviously comes out on top. But who takes a bigger hit from losing, Abbott or Paxton?
Abbott.
Yeah,
because they're 12 of 16 of those are incumbents, so they should win. He has the bigger war chest.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, maybe, and he's the governor, and Ken Paxton's the AG. He's like the underdog here.
Yeah, but he's riding on the high of winning an impeachment. So it kind of gives him a little bit of boost there. But yes, he is the governor. He is ultimately the governor.
Well, if it's 16-0, Abbott wins all of them. Yeah, certainly going to take wind out of the sails for sure. It just depends on how close it is, I think.
Brad, what's your take?
My take is that this is, and I think it's important, and I find it very interesting. You two know a lot more about this than I do, and so I enjoy listening to it and sort of learning more about these sort of like these background battles. But I'm not mistaken when I say like this is a background battle. Like this is happening like behind the curtain, and you're like. Even someone that pays attention to politics, even at a state level, I mean, are they even thinking about Paxton and Abbott and this like sort of behind the scenes?
Not in this way, I don't think.
No. The guerrilla war.
The guerrilla war? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I don't know why I said that, but yes, it's.
I mean, I think it makes sense. I think it's an apt metaphor. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting proxy, right? Because you always have the conservatives versus the I don't know, traditional, moderate, whatever you want to call them, but the conservatives versus them. But now you add in those two kind of big elephants in the room, and it just the stakes are just so much higher. And then I guess it also then depending on how that goes and who comes out on top of that, you've got a governor's primary that's not too far away, and so I think it could just get the ball rolling in the state of Texas. I might write an article about this now that I'm talking. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it's making sense.
Yeah, no, I don't know that it was planned this way, but it's certainly shaping up to be interesting, not just in terms of the elections, like this person versus this person, but like who's going to be in leadership. And I think that this is the first time. There have always been these proxy fights, but this is the first time there's really been a face on each side, a prominent face. Like that's leading the charge.
Yeah. You got it.
So local DA, Brad, this is your favorite person. So let's have you talk about it.
Why do you say it that way? Like you also aren't like I'm the only one that pays attention to this.
I really don't.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why after we get into it. But
I think I know the answer. But Jose Garza. Jesus is the city manager who's his uncle, and it's all very strange. Jose Garza is, of course, up for re-election, and he's announced, and he's got a lot of Soros money, Soros backed. We talked about Soros and those Soros backing before, and he has, I think, a Democrat challenger, and I don't. He announced without having a website, without like really anything. He's just basically like signed up at the last minute, like, yeah, I guess I'll do it, whatever. And I just don't get it. You know, what, like, why are you even bothering if that's what you're going to do? Like, maybe I'll interview the guy on my show, and I would love to, I guess. But like, how serious are you? You're going up against the juggernaut of Garza, who is, do people not pay attention in Austin, right? Like, that must be the answer. Like, progressives love him because he's very progressive and he's doing all of this, bail reform, and he's going after cops and all sorts of stuff. And there's this homicide in Austin last weekend. Hilario Chavez Adrian, 56. He was arrested by Austin police and charged with murder after a homicide last Sunday. And he was previously released on a $1 bond for another violent crime by Garza. Right? So, he's not the first. This is not the first case that something like this has happened. It may be one of the worst, if not the worst, examples of it. But when people see that, do they just forget when they get to the ballot box, or they see, he can't be worse than a Republican or a conservative, or are they like, what's going on here?
Wait, his challenger is a Democrat.
Yeah, it's primary challenger.
Okay, so then, then that's probably why he's running. I'm assuming he's more of a conservative Democrat. No, I would guess.
Is there such a thing?
John Whitmire. But no, is he running to his left? I can't imagine.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. It doesn't get really more left than Gar. Maybe not.
Because
more of a I'm sure it's going to be more of a moderate. But again, who knows anything about this guy? There's no website.
Jeremy Seilstein, something like that.
Excuse me?
Did I say it wrong? Seilstein. That's what I'm reading. Well, anyways, why? Because Democratic primary voters in Travis County, which are a small contingent, follow orders. They're like the diehard Democrats. You got to vote for this guy. Jose Garza is going to get all of the establishment support. Doggett, Kassar, Watson, Allred, all of them.
You think he's going to get Watson's support? Watson's also up for re-election, and Watson barely scraped by with a win last time, and he only did it because conservatives and moderates sort of rallied behind him in the runoff. If he goes on and endorses Garza, like, those people are going to be like, fuck you, Watson. They're already at
primary. Nobody's paying attention to the primary. Plus, Watson's looking at a presidential turnout, which is going to be higher and more progressive than the previous turnout in a non-presidential year. Yeah, he 100%. I'll make a bet with you, similar to my Lowy bet right now. He 100% is going to support Garza.
What does that mean? Watson will do an official endorsement of Garza in the primary and the general.
Yeah.
How much we betting?
$100.
Wait, I'm sorry. Didn't you guys just elect Kirk Watson?
Yeah, but
we moved our elections from off presidential to presidential years.
Okay.
And so this first term is only 2 years because it's the first time it's happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But he was also mayor back in, the 60s or whatever.
The olden days.
1998. I'll take that bet. My bet is that he won't. He'll just stay silent.
No way. And so all of the political infrastructure behind him, the media, the Travis County Democratic Party, all the other organizations, all going to be Garza. And that includes most of the donors other than the Lowy types. And here's my controversial statement. He won't even need Soros money to win.
He already has it, though.
But he won't need it.
How do we determine that?
Because Soros probably won't spend it unless he's threatened.
Right, but he already has the Soros money.
Not for this campaign. He had it for last campaign.
I don't think he spent it all. I think there's still money left over.
Well, anyways, he's not going to need an additional donation of Soros money to win this election. And what's going to happen is all the conservatives and all the like middle of the road Democrats who are politically active are going to get all excited about this challenger and waste a bunch of time and a bunch of money trying to beat Jose Garza. And it's an absolute waste of your time. Absolute waste.
What should they do with their time?
Stop engaging in electoral politics in Austin, start engaging in the culture fight and win over time.
What does that look like?
Invest in media.
I heard there's a great new podcast that you guys can invest in.
So they should invest in KXAN?
No,
build their own.
They should invest in BCM.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Build your own media. No, you gotta the